2 Samuel chapter 5 verses 1 to 3. They anointed David king of Israel. In those days, all the tribes of Israel came to David in Hebron and said, "Here we are, your bone and your flesh. In days past, when Saul was our king, it was you who led the Israelites out and brought them back. And the Lord said to you, You shall shepherd my people Israel and shall be commander of Israel." When all the elders of Israel came to David in Hebron, King David made an agreement with them there before the Lord, and they anointed him king of Israel. Hebron still exists under the same name and is one of the most ancient cities in the world. Its name is found about 40 times in the Old Testament. It was the favorite home of Abraham where he pitched his tent under the oaks, and it was at Hebron that Sarah, his wife, died, and was buried in the cave. Today we see Israel united under the kingship of David. You will recall that when Samuel anointed David it was in a small private ceremony. God was going to groom David into the great king he would become. This reading marks the fulfillment of 1 Samuel 16 verse 1. The Lord said to Samuel, "How long will you grieve over Saul, seeing I have rejected him from being king over Israel? Fill your horn with oil, and go, I will send you to Jesse the Bethlehemite, for I have provided for myself a king among his sons." David was the youngest son of Jesse and was a shepherd who would, as we see today, become the shepherd of Israel. He didn't come from a noble, military, or priestly family, thus he was a nobody without any claim to be anointed as king. 1 Samuel 16 verse 14, Now the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord tormented him. David was then appointed to lift Saul's spirits by playing the harp for him, and when he played the evil spirit left Saul. Now we find David in Hebron, the place where he was anointed king of Judah. The elders of Israel came to King David and they anointed him king of Israel. Much later we will see another of David's descendants become the king of Israel, Jesus Christ. Christ did not become the king of Israel in order to demand tributes or to raise armies and make war against the enemies of Israel. He became the king of Israel to reign over souls, to give counsel which leads to eternal life, to bring those who were filled with faith, hope and love to the kingdom of heaven. You will recall that Saul was Israel's first king. Pride and arrogance led to his downfall. Verse 2 says, "It was you that led out and brought in Israel." Even before the death of Saul, David was performing the kingly function of leading the Israelites into battle and bringing them home at the end of the battles, all done with Saul's blessing. Keep in mind that Saul would not have been broken-hearted to hear of David's death in battle, but God had other plans for David. Even before Saul's death, people looked upon David as their leader, their handsome hero, which added to Saul's rage against David and led to Saul's attempt to kill David. David became king at the age of 30, the same age at which Jesus began his public life. This passage marks one of the most significant events in history. The recognition of David as the king and the reunification of Israel under one king. Unlike Saul, Israel's first king, David began a dynasty that would rule Israel for 400 uninterrupted years. One of David's gifts was leaving behind the hope of a coming Messiah. The coming Messiah would claim David as his ancestor. That hope was fulfilled in the birth of Jesus Christ. So the figure of David is behind the whole of Christianity, with all its enormous effects upon the world. Christians as well as Jews have reason for being grateful to David's memory. While not always living up to Christian standards, David never lost faith in God nor in God's justice. And without faith it is impossible to please Him. For whoever would draw near to God must believe that He exists and that He rewards those who seek Him.